PlayStation Now, the brand new streaming service from the folks at PlayStation and Gaikai, is now available on the PlayStation 4, allowing you to play video games via the wonder of internet video streaming. There's about 100 games available on the service right now. It's costing $20 a month or $45 per quarter, and currently only available in North America. And I'm here with Peter and Chris to talk about some of the best games currently available on that service. First of all, what do you guys think of the price and the amount of games available? Obviously, they're going for like Netflix of gaming, $20, a little bit more than what I'm used to paying for something like Netflix or Amazon. Instant video.
Yes. So for comparison, like GameFly is a rental service. Yes. You get discs mailed to you, a la the
discs?
Netflix. Yes.
What's a disc?
Goes into the, well, it's too complicated to get into now, but that's like $16 to have one game out at a time for a month. And you can up it to a little over $20 for 2 discs out at a time.
Okay.
So the price there, it's kind of in the same ballpark. It's a little comparable. Obviously, that's a whole different thing because you have to mail. You'll get the one disc and you mail it back. You get, like
less
as opposed to just streaming it. So I don't know. Like I originally was balking at the price, but then. Peter, you had it up and running today, and I had asked you, even though I fully know what this service is about, I was like, oh, did you get that, did you get Street Fighter installed on PlayStation Now?
Yeah.
It's like, no, you don't have to do that. You just like queue it up, and like there it is, and you're playing it. I don't know if that like actually hit home to me until you were actually doing it.
How does the experience work?
I mean, so keep in mind, we're working with a like super fast like corporate building.
Downtown San Francisco internet company. Bandwidth connection.
Yeah. So, considering that, it works really well. The video, there's a little bit of compression artifacting going on where, maybe if some mid-tone colors are going across the screen, you'll see a little bit of blocks here kind of obscuring the details.
Colors.
Yeah.
What's a mid-tone color?
Like a gray.
Cool. All right. I dig.
Mid-value.
Don't play games with gray in it. Is the rule.
Whoops.
But it's also not really that distracting, those little bits and pieces. And it's something that you'd expect. Like you mentioned, you don't have to download the game, or even if it's a disc-based game, you don't have to do any sort of installation like some PlayStation games required. And you know what? The lag was, I couldn't detect any.
Really?
Yeah. I played Final Fantasy 13, Metal Slug, and Super Street Fighter 4.
Okay, that being a relatively fast game.
Exactly, yeah. And I play a lot of Street Fighter 4 with a pad, and doing so felt the same as it did on a PS3, at least to me.
Excellent. So right off out of the gate, they have 100 titles available for you to stream. Peter, what would you say are some of the games that are a highlight for you on that service?
Some of the ones I just mentioned, actually. Final Fantasy 13 is a game I've been meaning to revisit for a while. Like that series really dove off the deep end. But I think the first game did some things that now I'm more willing to accept and appreciate. And considering that it's like a long-form RPG, right?
Yeah.
If you only sign up for a month, that's a game that could keep you busy for a long time while you're sampling other things. Super Street Fighter 4 is another game that you can just play endlessly, right? So for the quality of the game and the time you're allowed to play, I really like those two. But then sort of like a personal favorite is Motorstorm Apocalypse.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's a racing game that no one's talked about in a while, but that game had incredible visual design.
Motorstorm.
Super fast, really fun to play. Like, that's one of those games that just sort of like disappears and people move on.
Yeah.
But like, no, that's a great game.
I love the first Motorstorm, and I think that was the sequel that came out like relatively soon after. It was like 18 months, maybe 2 years later.
I don't remember the exact timing.
Yeah. But like you said, it completely passed me by.
Yeah.
And you're right, if I had access to that service, I'd
Well, that also raises a question, Motorstorm, because you want to race people.
Right.
You want to race people online.
Yeah.
PlayStation Now games, if it has online multiplayer, that's enabled. Like that's all in there. But who's like, is anyone playing these games? I mean, if you go to Killzone 3 and you want to play competitive multiplayer, which is great, how many people are you going to get? Go up against, so
that's a good point.
That's kind of for me when I was thinking about like what games I would recommend. Even though I've really enjoyed the online multiplayer in a lot of those games, I can't really recommend renting them for that reason.
So you prefer the single player experiences available?
I think the single player thing is much better, and I think like I was harking back to my like rental heyday. I had GameFly for a while, but like my real rental heyday was Sega Genesis, going to the store in my town before when it was the local store, then it was Blockbuster.
Well, you didn't have Sega Channel?
I don't know what that is.
What?
What's
It's
Sega
basically
Channel?
PlayStation Now for the Genesis.
Really?
I kid you not.
What?
You got it through your cable provider, put it in your
Oh.
system, and you could just stream games over.
No, I
What
did
was
not
the lag
have
like
that.
on that?
Oh, jeez.
It was not bad. No, I think it saved it to local memory, so it actually downloaded
Oh,
the game
you're
and you could play
kidding.
it locally.
Wow.
Anyway.
Wow.
Sorry.
Sega Channel.
So what games?
Sorry, I gotta get out of my
You know,
Sega.
just when you're not using Sega Channel, what games on PlayStation Now would you like to play?
So I think one of the standouts for me personally is Enslaved: Odyssey to the West.
Yes.
Because that's it's a third-person action game. It's two characters, Trip and Monkey. You play as Monkey, who's this kind of brawler. Trip.
Andy Serkis.
Yeah, he's like this big dude. Trip is the sort of brains of the operation. You sort of save each other from basically being enslaved, and then try to journey across post-apocalyptic society to get back to where you're from. This is the kind of game that maybe is a hard sell for a buy for you, because it's like, oh, you're gonna be done with it in 7 to 10 hours. I'm not exactly sure how long it was, but for a rent, that's a great one. Like that's a weekend, or a week with playing a few nights, and it's got so much personality, and like the environmental design is really slick, and the combat is very cool as well. That one. Yeah, absolutely, Enslaved. And then, what was another one that I said?
One
Obviously,
game I remember seeing on your list, which made me laugh quite a lot, was a game that's based on any list you can ever create.
oh yeah, Spelunky.
Yeah.
Spelunky,
Of course.
the game of the year for all years. That game's just fantastic, and you should own it, obviously. And if
On
you-
everything.
On on whatever game system you can play it on. I mean, really, you should just buy it on Vita. If you don't have the Vita, you should buy it on PlayStation. Anyways, this is like a. Chris is always talking about Spelunky.
Yeah.
Why won't he shut up about Spelunky? I don't want to buy it. It doesn't look that great. Rent it, play it, love it forever, buy it, be the
And then buy
happiest
it on
person
every platform
you
ever.
can possibly imagine. And then there was a third one.
BitTrip.
It was BitTrip. Thank you, Danny.
I found this
God bless
interesting
you.
because I haven't played Runner 2.
So this, technically, it's BitTrip presents Runner 2, Future Legend of Rhythm Alien.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I think is the
I
full title, right?
I truncated it when we put it into the running order.
BitTrip
Yeah.
2, right? BitTrip Runner 2. The BitTrip series was super cool. That's a topic for another day. But Runner 2 is, you're constantly running, and all you're doing is pressing buttons to slide, jump, kick, and spring in order to get past obstacles. But it's in tune with the music, and the designs of the level are trippy. It gets exponentially hard. It gets much harder, and once if it feels too easy, you can rank up the difficulty really simply. There's a bunch of different characters, including a reverse merman who's like the head of the fish and the legs of a dude who has just these huge dangling testicles, which are hilarious. But really, this just nails that euphoric feeling that rhythm games can have when your button presses, the music, the level design are all in harmony. It's an incredible feeling, and this game captures it better than most.
Awesome. It's interesting we talk about this because we're bringing up games that we have basically all played. Like if I was to think about one of my favorite games in the system, it would be Bioshock Infinite, which is available, which is probably one of the bigger like AAA games on it, which is one of my favorite games of 2013. One of the best games I've ever played. But we're talking in terms of these are games we have played. These are on our checklist of games that we hope other people should play.
Yeah.
Do you think that's who's getting this service? Or do you think surely this is for people who have never played these games and want to experience new games? Who do you think ultimately PlayStation Now is for?
Yeah, it's a difficult question because I think a lot of people don't really want to go backwards. They want to go forwards when it comes to games. So I don't. But looking at the list of stuff, seeing all these games I've played, I kind of feel like, oh, I can play it again on my PlayStation 4. I always could have played those games again. But having it right there, having it accessible, and literally it's hit play, 20 seconds later, the game's there. You're like, okay, I'll play. It makes it really easy to revisit the past. I have a feeling that that's who this is for, because I don't know who's going to pay money to have access to a buttload of old games.
Especially ones that are that old. Obviously they're going to expand this with PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 1 games. Do you think that's going to sort of be more interesting in terms of a nostalgic trip than going back, 5-6 years?
I'm sure the nostalgia is going to get exponentially powerful when you go back to PS2 and PS1, of course. But it's interesting, to think about a library of PS3 games. Who does that appeal to? Does it appeal to someone who played a lot of PS3 games and wants to go back and play them? I don't think so, because I feel like that person is onto the PS4. Does it appeal to someone who is now getting a PS3. Like, I have a friend, loves to play games, but doesn't want to get a next-gen console. He's had an Xbox 360 for a couple years. Now he's going to get a PlayStation 3 and play all those exclusives, all that stuff he didn't get to play, and he's super psyched about it. If he could, when it comes to PlayStation 3, pay $20, sample a bunch of those, or, play through to completion some of them, or maybe, like, this is the way I was thinking, maybe it's useful as run through and sample which ones do I want to play more of, which ones do I just want to get a taste of, and then kind of be done with. Because just getting a taste of stuff is kind of the core of the rental experience.
Yes.
Right?
Just giving it a go and seeing it, and not being scared of having to throw down 60 and then actually, be stuck with a game rather.
Right, and then feel like, oh, I have to get my money's worth of this, or I have to take the hit to resell it, or something like that. So I think that could be interesting. Of course, am I going to pay $20 a month so I can try out The Last of Us, or am I going to try to get The Last of Us? Get a HD.
Is
it better to have? It's better for that reason to have fresher, more recent games, but for the nostalgia reason, you got to go to the back catalog, and then there are these games that are in the weird in between.
It's really strange. It's a new frontier for games. Obviously, something that's happening a lot in film and music over the past 5-6 years. So it's going to be very interesting. So if you have any thoughts on what games you would like to see brought to the PlayStation Now service, or games that are currently on there that you think we did not mention, by all means, stick them in the comments.